everybody, this is Jeremy Dunham, Editor-in-Chief of IGN PS2, and today we'll be taking a look at LEGO Star Wars. LEGO Star Wars is a pretty interesting game. It's developed by Traveller's Tales, which is the same team that did all the Crash Bandicoot games after Sony sold it to Vivendi. And it's kind of a neat little third-person action game that has a real emphasis on team-based gameplay. And what's kind of interesting about it is it has team-based gameplay even when you're playing alone. Now, a lot of people may think that LEGO Star Wars is just a kid's game, and it's true that it is targeted towards children. But what makes it so interesting is the fact that it's actually available for anyone to play. It's actually a really good game for both children and adults to play together, so it's something you can both sit down and kind of enjoy with your son or your daughter, and it really helps them through it. Essentially, it's a two-player game, whether you're playing by yourself or with another person, because that second player that you have is either can also be AI controlled. And the way it works is that you can actually have this large cast of characters, and at any time you can swap between them for use throughout the stage as a situation might call for. So let's say that you're playing as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn in the very first stage, for instance, and while you're slashing your way through battle droids, all of a sudden you might come to a door that can only be accessed by a certain robot. So all you do is you hit a button, you switch to that robot, and now you have control of that character. And from that point on, you can go ahead and access the areas that are only available to him, and that'll allow the other characters to travel into that area as well. And that's kind of what the whole gameplay system is really about, is using all these different characters together in conjunction so that you can keep, in a way, leapfrogging one another and using their strengths so that you can not worry about their weaknesses. So when you're playing two-player, the gameplay changes just a little bit, because when you're playing with the AI character, your companion's a little bit defensive. It's just really kind of there as a supportive role. When you're playing two-player, though, you can use that entire range of moves because you have another human controlling him. So you don't have to worry about him only being defensive. You can actually be offensive to two characters, which lets you go through the level a lot quicker, be a lot more offensive, and it's easier to solve puzzles because you don't have to worry about the AI catching up with you as you progress. What I really like about this system is that it doesn't really kind of punish you for playing either way. If you want to play only single player, that's fine because you know exactly what you're doing, you know the strengths and weaknesses of each character, and you can move at your own pace and do what you want to do. If you're playing two-player, you've got that really nice community element. You can use each other's skills at a much higher level than you would if you were playing by yourself. And you can kind of mess around with each other. At any time you can actually duel with one another even if you wanted to, just to break up the monotony. Other than your typical running around and smashing battle droids or finding special hidden items, there's a lot more you can do in LEGO Star Wars also, and that's really what makes it so interesting. Is that you can hop in a pod race, for instance, and go racing around Mos Espa and relive Episode 1. Or you can hop in a couple of starfighters and start shooting enemies in Episode 3. There's a whole bunch of little kind of diversions from the normal action formula that you'd expect kind of thrown in there as a mini-game that works really well, it blends really well. There's also a greater emphasis on puzzles the longer you go into the game. So while in the beginning it's a little bit heavier in the action side, a little bit later you start to really need to exploit the abilities of your characters. There are some stages that will actually require you to use up to 6 characters at a time. And that takes a lot of brain power, surprisingly. But it works in a way that it doesn't feel like it's holding you back or weighing you down. It's really clever. The puzzles move quickly, but it actually makes you think, and that's a real big advantage. As far as the boss battles are concerned, it's actually really good. In Episode 1, for instance, the very first boss that you fight is Darth Maul, and it mirrors the fight from the movie exactly. You'll be Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan taking on Mr. Redface for most of the adventure, but they've actually expanded on it a bit. So you're fighting in every room, solving puzzles as you go, and finding unique ways to kind of battle him. And you'll use your force powers, your lightsaber. You use the environment. Because everything's destructible, you can use that too. And when you take that into consideration, there's really a lot you can do in just one level alone. One of the questions that I get a lot from our readers in our email is, how much of the movie does this spoil? And how close to the movies is it in terms of the gameplay? And to answer both of those questions, it actually doesn't spoil much of Episode 3 at all. And in terms of gameplay, it's very close to the movies, and it's different enough to actually where it doesn't feel like you're playing the same thing over and over again. Now, one of the reasons that LEGO Star Wars works so well, of course, is because it captures the style of LEGOs and Star Wars pretty perfectly. I mean, the graphics themselves are very good. It's actually as close to the real thing I think that you can get based on modern technology right now. And when you throw in the fact that you have all this humor supplementing these very familiar Star Wars environments and characters, it kind of makes for a very unique spin on something we've seen a million times over. And that's something you don't see too often in any game, especially a licensed game like this. Overall, though, I think this is the type of game that everyone should run out and pick up, because not only will it appeal to your children on a very basic and simplistic level, but it can also appeal to you because there's a lot more to do than just run around and do popular Star Wars moments. There's hidden items you can find, a ton of hidden characters to unlock, and a lot of other secrets I really don't want to spoil now. But all in all, it has just about everything a great family game needs. It's low on violence, it has great humor, terrific graphics, terrific presentation, and it's fun to play and easy to get into. And at the end of the day, that's really all you need. And I know that I need it, and I think I'm going to go play it right now.